people, Jay from Carpe Pluma here. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the Montblanc Meisterstuck series. I've got in my hand a couple 149s, I've got a couple 146s, I've got a 144, I've got a couple counterfeits. We're going to be talking about them all, so let's get started. Here are 5 things you might not know about the Montblanc Meisterstuck series. Number 1, what's in a name? You may have noticed by now that I've been pronouncing it Montblanc and not Montblanc in the French fashion. It is a German company. It has a French name, named for a mountain in the Alps that sits on the border of France and Italy, that mountain being Montblanc or Mont Blanc if you prefer. Now, myself being an American, living in America, we don't say rendezvous, we don't say Paris, we don't say hors d'oeuvre. We say rendezvous in Paris and hors d'oeuvres. So I'm going to say Mont Blanc. If you prefer to say Mont Blanc, feel free. One thing you should know about the French pronunciation, though, is there is something a little bit tricky in French called the liaison, which means that in a word such as Mont Blanc that ends with a silent consonant, if the next word begins with a vowel, that silent consonant stops being silent. So if you want to be really nitpicky, if you want to say this brand is a fine writing instrument because that is starts with a vowel, you would say Mont Blanc is a fine writing instrument. However, if you wanted to say this brand writes well, you would say Mont Blanc writes well. You would leave off that silent consonant. So say Mont Blanc, say Mont Blanc, say whatever you want. You know what I'm talking about. I know there's still going to be someone that's going to go down to the comments below and tell me I'm mispronouncing it. Going to be hilarious. Do what you got to do, buddy. Anyway, onward. So Montblanc started as Simplissimus pens in 1906 and then became the Simplo Filler Pen Company in 1908. 1909 was the first time the Montblanc name was actually used. It was used in association with the Rouge et Noir model, which has been brought back. You can check it out on their website. It won't be cheap, but if you want a little piece of history, that was the first Montblanc pen to have the Montblanc name associated with it. The name came from a card game one of the partners was playing and wanted to make a comparison between his brand being the highest pinnacle of writing instruments, comparing that to the highest peak in the Alps, Mont Blanc, and since then the name just stuck. In 1910, the name Mont Blanc was trademarked and the first pen appeared with a white cap on top. It did not have the white star at first, it was just a white circle, but that was the beginning of that particular aesthetic. It wasn't until 1934 that they officially became Montblanc Simplo. Right, number 2. What about that white star? A lot of people have heard that it represents the snowy peak of the highest mountain in Europe. That is actually erroneous. The highest mountain in Europe is Mount Elbrus in Russia. If you don't count Eastern Europe, then Mont Blanc is the highest peak in the Alps, highest peak in Western Europe, and that's prestigious enough, I would say. So that is what that represents. The white star itself, as opposed to just a white circle, was first used in 1913 and from then on has appeared on every pen that Montblanc has made. Right, number 3. How high is Montblanc anyway? Well, funny you should ask that. Every Montblanc Meisterstuck nib is inscribed with the numbers 4810, that being ostensibly the height in meters of Montblanc. However, when I looked online, I saw it listed as 4807, as 4808.7, nor did I actually see the height of Montblanc listed as 4810, except for in association with this brand and literature associated with the brand reviews and such. So take that for what it's worth. I don't think it really matters that much, but everyone's saying that that's the height of Mont Blanc. It turns out the mountain is actually shrinking, or maybe they've gotten better at measuring, or maybe they just picked a nice round number. But 4810 is pretty close to the height of Mont Blanc, and that is engraved on every Montblanc Meisterstuck nib. Okay, number 4, what's this word Meisterstuck I keep using? Meisterstuck is German for masterpiece. The line was first launched in 1924, however it wasn't actually until 1952 that they came out with the 149 model, which has since become the flagship and has remained that way from that until now. All right, number 5, I would be remiss if I did not mention counterfeiting. Montblanc is the number 1 most counterfeited pen in the world by far. Pretty much, if you want to make sure that you get a legit Montblanc, your safest bet is to go through an authorized retailer. If you find one that's cheap online, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. There are a lot of people that aren't necessarily nefarious, evil people that can be fooled and can end up selling a counterfeit product as new because they don't know any better. So unless you're dealing with someone who has a long history and stands by their purchase and gives you time to verify the authenticity of the pen, I would recommend only buying from an authorized retailer. I've got a couple of counterfeit Montblancs right here. These actually are not very good counterfeits, so it's not going to make a lot of sense to take a real close look at them. What I will tell you, though, is that a lot of people, when they're looking for counterfeits, they're looking at things like the engraving and they're making sure that the words are engraved in the proper places, that the serial number is in the proper place, that the nib looks right, all of that type of thing. The simple fact is that counterfeiters are smarter than that. Anything obvious that you know to look for, they know to put on the pen. So everything is going to be in the right place. You're not going to be able to just tell that the serial number is in the wrong spot or they forgot to include a certain word in a certain space. What you're going to need to look for is tiny discrepancies in the craftsmanship. Like on this pen here, I don't know if you can pick it up on this lens, but when I feel along here from the back end cap to the barrel, there's a slight drop off. You might be able to see that ridge. That should not be there. That's a sure sign. The machining, or rather the craftsmanship, I don't know how much machining is actually done, but the craftsmanship is very fine. The tolerances are very small on a Montblanc pen. Usually you're looking for things like you're looking at the engraving, and you just have to make sure the engraving is perfectly pristine. The cross hatching in the engraving all looks sharp and clean. It's very difficult to tell, even for a trained eye. So pretty much the best way to be sure that your pen is not a counterfeit is to send it off to Montblanc and ask them to inspect for repair. Now, if you do send it off and ask them for a certificate of authenticity, they will be glad to charge you $70 and to send it off to Germany, and you will get your certificate of authenticity if your pen is real. However, if you don't want it sent off to Germany, you don't want to have to pay that $70, but you do want to know whether your pen is real or not, you can ask Montblanc to inspect for repair. Now, what that means is just what it sounds like. They're going to take a look at the pen, see what needs to be repaired on it, but the first step of that repair inspection is going to be to verify the authenticity of the pen, because they don't want to work on a fake pen. They're not going to work on a fake pen. They're just going to send it back to you. So if you send it in to inspect for repair and you get an email of them telling you what they would like to do to the pen, you can assume that your pen is real and it's legit. So that's the best way to tell if it's counterfeit or not. If you buy from an authorized retailer, it's not going to be an issue. If you buy from eBay, make sure that you're going to have enough time to send it in somewhere, or to have someone you really trust who really knows their stuff take a good close look at it. eBay does have a money-back guarantee. I have bought a fake Montblanc off eBay before. I did get my money back, so hopefully you have as good a luck as I did in terms of returns if you do get ripped off. But like I said, I was looking at the pictures looked good, the seller had a good rating, and they sold me a counterfeit. So what are you going to do? Right, next we're going to do a section I'm calling Anatomy of a Pen. We're going to look at the pen from top to bottom, finial to end cap. So here we go with the anatomy of a pen. Alright, I want to start this section out by just showing you these three pens all next to each other. I've got the 144, the smallest one here, the 149, the biggest one in the middle, and then the 146 over here on the end. We're going to look at the 149 most closely because that is going to be the biggest and the easiest to see, and the design elements on all three pens are pretty much identical. I'll tell you where they vary. So first of all, we've got the finial, which has got that ubiquitous white star on there, recognizable, iconic. There it is, and plain as day for all to see. Next, you've got black precious resin, followed by a gold band. It is a solid gold band. There are no hinges or no pieces connecting, bolted together. It's all just one welded piece. Got a very stiff clip on it, which I like. I like to be able to put the pen in a shirt pocket and know that it's not going anywhere. If I'm running across the street, it's not going to bounce out of my pocket, get run over by a taxi or something. So after the gold band, we've got black precious resin in the cap. At the bottom of the cap, we've got 3 gold bands, thin bands on the top and the bottom, and a thick band in the middle. Now, if you can read the engraving on that thick band, it says Meisterstuck, number 149, Pix, and then Montblanc. And hopefully you can see that engraving pretty well. It's kind of hard to pick up on my camera here. But that engraving is going to be really clean. It's going to be masterfully done. There aren't going to be any little smudges or any areas where they didn't get it quite right. So if you like to look at your pen under a loop, you like to know that you have the finest in all of the little details. That can be kind of fun to look at. Next, we've got a black precious resin body, followed by a gold band that denotes the end of the barrel and the beginning of the end cap, where the piston filling mechanism, where the turn for that begins. Now the end here is just black, but that is the piston filling mechanism. If you want to take this off here, you can see the slats in here. This is where the ink goes in the barrel of the pen. If I just turn this, this comes out, and you can see there's a little gap there. And then as I close this back up, this would suck the ink up into the pen. And I would have, instead of those slats being there, that would be, at the very least, opaque. So let's see, without the cap on, we've got the threads here. The cap does screw onto the barrel of the pen in the 146 and the 149. The 144 that I have is a snap-on cap, which I don't really love. I prefer the security of a screw-on cap, but I guess this is a little bit more quick and convenient. I'm always a little worried that it's gonna, pop off there. It's on my shirt. Hasn't happened yet, but it could happen. Don't want it to happen, so I'm a little paranoid about it. Anyway, we got the screw-on cap here. The threads are not too sharp, so that's not really gonna affect your writing experience. There's a nice little piece of section here for you to hold on to. As you can see, there is a bit of a lip on the end of the section there. I've heard some people complain about that, saying that it's not comfortable for them. For me, it just provides kind of a little backstop for your finger. It's very comfortable, and this pen is a very comfortable writer. Next we have, of course, the nib. Now this is an 18 karat tritone nib. It's got the Montblanc logo on it. It's got the 4810 on it. It says 18 karat on it. You can see the 3 tones there, the gold, silver, gold, or gold, platinum, gold, whichever it is, I'm not sure. But it's a number 9 nib, denoted by the 149. That last number is the nib size. And it's a very pretty nib. This is a broad nib. I actually started off with a double broad, and that was a little bit too much for me, so I ended up going down to a broad. And that's what we got here now. So that is the anatomy of a pen. Pop that back on there, and we will be moving on. All right, next I'm going to be rating the pen on 3 different categories. First, we're going to be doing looks, then we're going to be doing feel, then we're going to be doing bang for the buck. So first category is looks. Let me give you a little idea of my rating system since this is a new series. Number 1 star, 1 out of 1 star, is going to be Smurfette. She's beautiful, but she's blue, she's 2 inches tall, so maybe she's not your type. 2 stars is going to be Wilma. Again, beautiful, but 1,000 years old, kind of old-fashioned, maybe not exactly your type. Number 3 out of 4 stars, is going to be Tarangalila. Again, definitely a babe, but she does have purple hair, she does have 1 eye, she is a mutant, so maybe that's not what you're into, but that's 3 out of 4 stars. And then the pinnacle of beauty, 4 out of 4 stars, none other than Betty Boop herself. So the question is, what kind of a rating do I give this pen? Now, to some people, I can see how this would be a little more than the Wilma. It's kind of a boring pen. It's not flashy. If you don't know what the Montblanc name is, it's just a black pen. And compared to something like, let's take a look at, for example, the Visconti Divina Elegance. I don't want to steal the show here, but it's hard not to do with a pen like this. This is a beautiful pen. I'm going to be doing a review on that next. But compared to a pen like that, this could be considered kind of boring. Now, in my opinion, this isn't boring. This is elegant. This is sleek. This is timeless. And for me, this would be at least a Tarangalila, maybe a Betty Boop. So I would say a 3.5 out of 4 stars in terms of looks, because it does have that timeless design. This is the little black dress. This is the black tie of the pen world. It goes with everything. It's always going to be in style. It's not going to be like one of those haircuts that you got in the 80s and then you see yourself, in pictures from 10 years ago and you go, oh my God, what was I thinking? This pen is always going to be in style. It's always going to look good. And so for that reason, and the beautiful nib, the beautiful craftsmanship, the fact that if you do look at it closely, all of the details are there and are impeccable, which is something that cannot be said about all pen models. Like, for example, that Visconti Divina Elegance I just showed you. Definitely not quite up to the level of craftsmanship. I'll go over that in my next video. But anyway, 3.5 out of 4 stars. I would give it a Leela and half a Betty. Boom. 3.5 out of 4. All right, the next section is going to be the feel of the pen. For that, I've got 1 star Kirk Van Houten, Can I Borrow a Feeling? Not very good feel there. Number 2 is going to be upside down. Going to be Drake, In My Feelings. Again, so-so. Number 3, we're getting pretty good. James Brown, I Feel Good. And number 4, the Queen herself, Nina Simone, Feeling Good. That will be the pinnacle of feel for me. So the question is, what do I give this pen on a feel ranking? It is definitely, let's see, let me get my stuff in order here. So I've got all 3, the 144, the 146, and the 149. They're all incredibly wet writers. They're all incredibly smooth writers. They're incredibly well balanced. Even posted, they balance well. The plastic is very warm in the hand. The precious resin, that's code word for plastic. So it's a very high quality plastic. It doesn't feel like a cheap pen. It feels weighty. They all feel great in that way. So that brings them all up to at least a 3 out of 4. Now my one complaint is that these 2 pens here, as you can see, these kind of bookend this middle pen in terms of size. The 144, for my taste, is a little bit small. I've got pretty big hands, not huge, but I'm 6'5". I can palm a basketball, so I've got pretty big hands, and this pen just seems a little bit slender to my taste. Now the 146, on the other hand, the flagship pen that everyone is so crazy about, or the 149 rather, I'm sorry I misspoke there, this 149 that everyone's so crazy about is a little bit big for my taste. It's not a matter of not being able to hold it. I mean, I can hold it just fine. It's just not really comfortable to write with. It's a matter of personal preference, I guess. If you're wondering if you will like a big pen like this and you don't want to spend $1,000 and get something in the mail that you might not end up enjoying, maybe start off with the Jinhao 599. This is a $10 or a $15 pen depending on where you get it. If you buy a 4-pack, you can get a 4-pack for like 20 bucks. But the point is that this is pretty close in size to the 149. It's actually a little bit bigger. It's going to be a little bit heavier because it is made of metal. But it'll give you an idea of whether or not, you might just absolutely love writing with this big thick pen. You might absolutely hate writing with this big thick pen. But that'll give you an idea as to whether or not you like the 149. But the 144 and the 149, I'm both given James Brown 3 out of 4. I feel good. So good rating, but not the best. Now, the 146. All those good things I said about the 144 and the 149 are also true about this one, and this happens to just fit my hand absolutely perfectly. To me, this is the best writer that I have. It should be. It's the most expensive pen I own. We'll talk about price a little bit more in the next section, but in terms of just pure writing pleasure, I do not have a pen that equals this one. So this definitely gets Nina Simone 4 out of 4. I don't give this lightly. I won't be giving a lot of these, but 4 out of 4, feeling good. 146. All right, the final section we're going to be doing is bang for the buck. I've got a firecracker as 1 star, got a Molotov cocktail for 2 stars, got a hand grenade for 3 stars, and if you're a Rick and Morty fan, there's the neutrino bomb from Rick and Morty for 4 stars. So bang for the buck. How could a pen like this possibly have bang for your buck, coming in at, between $600 and $1,000 depending on what model you get? Well, there are a couple things that add value to this pen. First of all, they are great writers. Let's get that out of the way. You can talk all you want about the marketing, the branding, everything that Montblanc has done to further their brand name. All that is built on the back, at least up to this point, of a very, very high quality writing instrument. So bang for your buck is there in that regard. However, for this 149, which comes in at like $970, you could get 10, $100 Watermans. You could get 20, $50 Conklins. Is it 20 times better than that $50 Conklin in terms of writing? Is that possible? No, I don't think it is possible, and I don't think this pen is that much better of a writer. But it is a superior writer, make no mistake about that. Now, what kind of added value is there for a pen like this? 2 main things. One is just the prestige that you're going to get with it. This isn't for everybody, but for some people, they like to show off the brands on their clothing. They like everyone to know what kind of car they drive. They've got the little keychain with their car logo dangling on it so they can flash it out at a bar and maybe pick someone up with their cool brand gear. Anyway, not really my scene, but if that's for you, then this might be the pen for you, because there's going to be no other brand that is as recognizable as Montblanc, and that white star is going to be recognized by people who don't know anything about fountain pens. Quite frankly, having one of these pens, flashing it around, is a way of telling the world you have money to spend on luxury goods, and here is an example right here in your fancy Montblanc pen. So if you're kind of a brand chaser, you like showing off, that's one reason why this might have some added value. The second main reason is that this pen becomes an instant heirloom. When you pass away someday, hopefully a long time from now, and your descendants are looking for your possessions, there's going to be a lot of stuff that is just a hassle, a lot of stuff that just goes into storage, a lot of stuff that gets sold off in an estate sale maybe, but your Montblanc pen is something that everyone is going to recognize as having value, especially if it's something that you use regularly, that you maybe use to write letters to your grandkids or to your kids with, or that you used as an everyday carry pen or whatever. Having your grandfather, your grandmother's Montblanc pen is a lot different than having your grandmother or grandfather's Waterman or Visconti or whatever else. So instant heirloom status, something that will be passed down and cherished. The quality is going to be there. That Montblanc will always take it and work on it and fix it up for a fee if the warranty is out after a couple years. But that is another reason why this pen could have decent bang for the buck. Now, with those things being said, can I give it a neutrino bomb? No, I cannot. Definitely not. Can I give it a hand grenade? 3 out of 4 stars. It's close. It's between a Molotov cocktail and a hand grenade. 2 or 3 out of 4 stars. The reason is that the price is just so high. In order for this pen to have, maximum bang for the buck, it would need to have wings, and you'd be able to fly places sitting on it like a broomstick. It doesn't have that. It can't do anything other than write lines. Writes very nice lines, writes very smooth lines, and it does have that extra added value of showing some prestige and of having that heirloom status. But even with all those things said, at $1,000, I've got to give it, I would say, 2.5, 3 stars out of 4. A Molotov cocktail or a hand grenade when it comes to bang for the buck for the Montblanc Meisterstuck series. All right, so the final question is, Should I buy this pen? Yes or no? Start off with the negative so that we can end on a positive. The main reasons why not to buy this pen: first, the price can be prohibitive for some people. If it's just too much, it's too much. Some people, a $100 pen seems like a lot, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. People have different priorities. They've got different incomes. They've got different bills to pay. And this might just be way too much, way out of your ballpark. And if so, life goes on. You'll survive. One reason maybe why not to buy this pen is, let me show you a little piece of gore right here. This is my father's 149, and if you can see, it's got some tape on the cap, and that is because he, being a big believer in getting a lot of use out of his pens, he carries this thing around in his pocket, and he sat on it and it broke. Now, this is all just to make the point that in the end, this being a $1,000 pen is still a plastic pen, and it will break if you sit on it. This $5.99, on the other hand, is a metal pen and will stand up better to being sat on. It won't write quite as well, doesn't have that prestige. No one's going to ever talk about having their grandfather's Jinhao, but take that for what it's worth. The third and final reason why you might have not to buy this pen is counterfeiting. This kind of goes along with the first reason, the price, but if you're trying to get a good deal on this, just be really careful. Be really, really careful. If it seems like the deal is too good to be true, it probably is. And make sure that you get someone to look at the pen, preferably Montblanc. Preferably you send it into them. You can call their concierge service. They'll send you out a form. Just Google Montblanc concierge service. They've got a whole big professional setup. And you can send it in. But if you're not buying this pen new and you found it for a deal somewhere, make sure you don't get ripped off, because that sucks and that'll really make you feel like a fool. I've been there. I got my money back, fortunately, but it's not a fun experience. So, good luck. All right, now for the positives. Why should you buy this pen? Number one, because it's a Montblanc. Say what you want about the marketing, about the branding, about all of that, puffing the pen up to be more than it is. In my opinion, all of that, besides the fact that it is just a beautiful writer, objectively, all of that almost kind of acts like a placebo effect, making the experience that much nicer when you pick it up, when you hold it in your hands, when you write with it. It's just a great, great writer. It's also got that prestige. It's got that Montblanc white star. The craftsmanship is done at a very high level, so if you like fine attention to detail, you're going to appreciate this pen. You're going to have an instant heirloom, and this is a pen that if you don't sit on it and break it, should write very well forever and ever. So in the end, do I say buy this pen or not? I say that if you are in the market for a pen of this quality, if you're looking to spend between $600 and $1,000 on a pen, this definitely should be on your list. There are some pens that are going to be a little bit flashier, that might have some more striking looks, but there's a decent chance that in 10 years, 15 years, maybe 50 years even, those pens are going to be looking kind of garish and foolish, and this Montblanc will be sitting there looking all sexy and sleek and elegant. And yeah, I would say buy the pen. If you can afford it, buy the pen. If you just want to buy it to show off, that's your business. If you just want to buy it for the heirloom status, that's your business. But I would say buy it because it's a great writer, and all the rest of that stuff is just icing on the cake. So that's it for me. Carpe Pluma. I'm Jay. Like, subscribe, comment below. Gonna get a writing sample going. Bye for now.
All right, we have got the Montblanc Meisterstuck. This is the 146 with a medium nib. I'm using permanent black ink. from Montblanc. I only use Montblanc ink in my Montblanc pens. That's what they say to do. I don't know if it really matters. Let's see. Do a little bit of figurating for you. Nice and smooth. In terms of line variation, you can get a little bit. I don't want to press too hard on it. Backwards writing, let's see. Very scratchy, but it works and is running pretty smoothly, considering most pens go dry pretty quickly if you go to backwards writing. To come to the aid of their party. All right, well, wrote that whole line backwards without skipping once. Nice wet line there on the front side, obviously. How about let's try a little cursive here. My cursive is not so great. I apologize to my elementary school teachers. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. All right, so let's see just how wet a writer is it. 1, 1000, 2, 1000, 3, 1000, 4, 1000, 5, 1000, 6, 1000, 7, 1000, 8, 1000, 9, 1000, 10, 1000, 11, 1000, 12, 1000, 13, 1000, 14, 1000, 15, 1000. Still a little bit of smear going on that last little bit there, but very wet writer. So I would guess if you're a left-handed writer, maybe this isn't the pen for you, or maybe just put a very dry ink in it. I know Pelican Adelstein is thought of as being a dry ink. But that's your writing sample for the Montblanc Meisterstuck 146 with a medium nib, permanent black ink. Oh, maybe you're curious about the paper. It's HP 32-pound LaserJet premium choice. So there we go.